former Foreign Secretary of India, very well-known diplomat. Mr. Shank, welcome. How complicated do you think it is at this moment for Dr. Jaishankar to try and get these leaders to come to some kind of a consensus which allows for a joint communique to be put out at the end of these 2 days long dialogue?
Rahul, it's a very difficult phase. If in Indonesia we could have made some progress or given some direction for the future G20 summits, things would have been easier, because Indonesia was the host last year, this year India, then Brazil, then South Africa. So the expectation was that G20 would be able to make a significant difference in the issues of poverty reduction, climate change, sustainable development goals, etc., and renewable energy, etc., all these things. But unfortunately, since last year, we have been held hostage to a European crisis, and there has been no solution to it. If you remember that this G20 was formulated at a time when UN security reforms and other international organizations reforms were stopped. There was no change in them. Secondly, there was an economic crisis. The banks were failing. There was issues of total recession in many countries. So at that time, G20 became more active to take care of the economic side. Now we find that G20 has two pressures. One is to take care of the aspirations of the global south, which we are trying to highlight. Also, we are trying to highlight the issues of various fuel, fertilizer, and food security. Whereas Europeans, rightly, they have their priorities, and they want G20 to concentrate more on peace and security issues for Europe and the geopolitical issues involved, because they also have an impact on the economic crises which are forming in the developing world. So I think it's a difficult issue. So I have no advice to give to anyone. I think we just have to make sure that we continue to talk, we continue to find common ground where...
No, but how much emphasis would you lay on a joint communique? Do you think that matters? Is that how the outcome of this deliberation will be measured? Do you think, given the intractable differences, don't waste much political capital on trying to forge a joint communique, just go out with a summary statement put out by the host and that's enough? Get on with it without getting caught up in trying to achieve the impossible.
One is a question of continuing process for finding a reconciliation of the irreconciliables. Second is a question that every meeting wants to have a joint communique.
Sure.
Every meeting wants to at least come up with a presidential statement. So that is only partial success. Real success is that in case we can continue to move from meeting to meeting and then reach a stage where countries like the NATO and Russia, they find that really there is no point in continuing with this struggle endlessly and having such a tremendous loss of life of people. And therefore, I think that's where they have to come to an agreement, that do they accept the agreements which were reached in the past at the end of the Second World War to have the UN Security Council certain kind of framework, or do they want that framework to break down completely?